So here we go this week, a full moon in Sagittarius on Thursday, the 23rd of May, 13:53 UTC. This full moon in Sagittarius perfects. It perfects 2 degrees of Sagittarius, or in the 3rd degree of Sagittarius, so right in that early mutable. It's a special moment because this is the final, what I call syzygy, or newer full moon, while we have Venus and Jupiter in Taurus, and particularly while we have Jupiter in Taurus. This is the final party or celebration of a whole season of our astrology over the last year, which is that Jupiter has been in Taurus since May 2023, and we've had a series of Taurian peaks and climaxes here in May 2024, including the conjunction of Jupiter and the Sun. We had then the conjunction of Venus and Jupiter, which perfects just in a few hours before this full moon. We've had Uranus meeting Jupiter, that rare transit that happens once every roughly 13 years. And so we've had a series of accentuations, great accentuations in the Taurus sector of our charts and lives, that this is really the very final moment of that. And it comes with a full moon, which is also a climax, a moment of climax in terms of the solar-lunar cycle. You know, full moons are always these peaks of intensifications and climaxes, and I say it in almost every video, but look for these intensities, feeling like, wow, this is intense, people going crazy around you. That the moon is in Sagittarius, a sign of fire, big fire, right? Jupiter's domicile, its fire domicile. This is like lighting a massive bonfire in a celebratory dance that we might be able to conduct around that bonfire to honor the seasons of life and one season ending. It's a big, big deal to have a Jupiter cycle end. It's a huge, huge deal. And I would recommend processing that sector of your chart and just see what kind of truths may have arrived for you here in these last moments here in May. Because I bet there's been something big. I bet there's some kind of Taurian revelation, very likely in that house topic or in that sector. And it might have been hard fought. This isn't always just here's a gift, here's a check. I mean, these are hard fought revelations. Truth sometimes requires we suffer to see the pain of truth, to see the pain of reality and the pain of life, but through that we get these kind of new settlements, new gifts, new epiphanies, new realizations. A few little bits of housekeeping here. I've been talking about Jupiter, Uranus, and film, and what films have arrived. What are these big creative films that are on the scene now? I want to speak a little bit about Megalopolis, the Francis Ford Coppola picture that was just released. People are saying it's unintelligible, that it's a masterwork of an auteur, that it is worthless. I'm really curious about that picture. Some of the stills I've seen, it looks magically advanced, something that would fit with Jupiter and Uranus conjoining in Taurus. I wanted to shout out Megalopolis, something I'm very much looking forward to viewing here very, very soon. The other thing about this full moon, it really is a party and a climax, because immediately after this, just in the days after, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, everything comes into Gemini, and we have then the new moon is the next syzygy in Gemini, I think 6 June. And so we go from a moment of this Taurian settlement and kind of a one-pointedness on the body and the pleasure and the art and the creativity and the staying with the stability of home and with beauty and unification, the Taurian, and then we explode out from that into a refracted space. And when I mean refracted, that's kind of euphemistic. We're talking about multiplicity upon multiplicity upon multiplicity. It's like you're on the couch and chilling and resting, and then you walk outside and the spaceships are landing, right? That's what we're about to arrive into with all of these planets shifting into Gemini here very, very soon. And so it might be that what you've just gone through with this Taurian revelation, as Jupiter now shifts into Gemini, Venus and Mercury, etc., the verbalization becomes possible. It may be that we haven't even been able to verbalize it. And I want to say this here. One of my last videos, I saw a comment. Someone was saying, well, everything's under the beams of the sun and not visible. That's an astute comment for sure. And part of why I didn't mention it before was because we have something called chariot in this tradition, where if the ruling planet is under the beams, it still has its powers. It's greatly protected. And so Venus has been in its chariot during all of these Taurus pileups the last couple of weeks, protecting all of those other planets and ruling all of those other planets. So I didn't feel really the need to accentuate the fact that things were under the beams, but I do think in this context, it's worth considering. Taurus isn't necessarily the most verbal sign, the sign that knows or desires even to articulate things. It's a sign of feeling. But as everything comes into Gemini, it's like bursting out. We can talk now. We can identify, we can note everything we've just gone through, maybe in a more precise way, or in a more, there might be more words available to us to describe everything we're going through right now here in 2024. We're coming out into a very verbal and a very idea-oriented and expressive moment one that might be even too expressive and kind of destabilizing. And this is an ongoing theme still for the next year, that Saturn in Pisces squares Jupiter in Gemini, so it's finding the words. Saturn in Pisces is for sure a dreamscape, and then Jupiter in Gemini is a word mess. So the dreamscape meets the word mess, and those have to sort of be at odds with each other. I think we're going to be able to produce new articulations of all kinds. And I would go to the dream, go to the Saturn, and let that kind of propel and push the verbalization and the material articulation. So we begin to accentuate this mutable axis now. Pisces, Gemini, this full moon in Sagittarius, right, opposite Gemini. And then of course, Virgo. These are the mutable signs, and those get greatly accentuated going forward here. Jupiter into Gemini, the south node into Virgo in early 2025. We'll have here in 2025 the nodes in the mutable axis, both Saturn and Jupiter in the mutable axis. It becomes heavy pressure and heavy mutable very, very, very soon here. And this is just one more step into that direction. So let's come into this full moon chart now. Let's derive houses from it. The Sagittarius moon being the first house. What are the rulers of Sagittarius? The Sun and Jupiter, the primary rulers, vis-a-vis triplicity and domicile. And in this chart, we have the Sun in Gemini, early Gemini, right opposite the moon, where both Venus and Jupiter and Mercury will be very, very soon. So this is almost a preview of June, because the ruler of this full moon is right there in early Gemini. We have Jupiter still in Taurus with Venus, both in that anaretic degree of Taurus, that destabilizing anaretic degree. And this is why I was speaking earlier about the transitions out from the comfort into the multiplicity, out from the safety of the home and the pleasures that we derive in the home, into the world of chaos and the unknown and the adventure and the kind of, look, the brain is super powerful. And especially in our current epoch, so many new ideas come online, so many new words are invented, cultures collide. We live in a global village with the internet connecting everybody. New languages are invented. These AI computers are inventing new languages to communicate with each other. There really is an explosion of interconnectivity and discourse and intercourse between culture and people. And so it's like coming from the safety and comfort of our home out into this crazy town world that we're in. That can be tough, right? That's a destabilizing transition. And I think the anaretic degree placement of Jupiter and Venus there underscore this idea of this kind of destabilized transition out from the safety and comfort of home and into the crazy town of the outer world. And what I was saying earlier about things being under the beams, yes, that is blocked now because Jupiter and Venus come into Gemini. We lose Venus being in Chariot. And that happens right after this full moon moment. But let's come back into the full moon chart. I want to stay focused on this full moon chart. So I want to break this down. What's Jupiter in Taurus, 6th from Sagittarius? What kind of things might that imply? The grind of an aesthetic regimen. If you're making beauty, you're doing art. You see these old painters, they're in suits, they get on the train like any other working person, because they are working people, and they show up to their canvas and they paint every day. It's the grind of the aesthetic production. Moon, ruled by Jupiter in the 6th sign from Sagittarius, Jupiter and Taurus. So, you know, another theme, how might we consider this? Sagittarius has this reputation for the exploration, right? The going out into the world and exploring. It's an outer world fire sign. It's getting excited about an adventure. You know, Jupiter in the 6th, this might be the labor of the exploration. It's the preparations for the trip, making sure you have your rations and your food, making sure you have your bag packed, and the kind of quotidian parts of any adventure where you're waking up and you organize your possessions and you're getting into those 6th house themes for this adventuring. You know, it's also, when we think about Jupiter and Taurus, it's the body, it's the spiritual applied to the body, and the 6th house is the body, and the moon is the body, right? Moon in Sagittarius. So there's this whole body exchange between this exchange of signs between the moon in the domicile of Jupiter, Jupiter in the sign of exaltation of the moon. So they're flipping back and forth with each other. But it's the idea of philosophical or religious or spiritual applications to the health journey. You know, sometimes we might have stuff going on in our body and it's like, we can pray about it. We can do meditation practice. This can lower the blood pressure, or all kinds of mystical practices to tap into other realms or layers of healing. I think that's a big part of this moment too. And we may need it as we prepare for what I talked about at the beginning of this video of the more active multiplicity that we shift into. It might be good to just say, let me get some spiritual healing here right this week and right now before all of the Gemini activation comes. And of course, pets. You might think about how your pets bring you love and bring you fullness and bring you connectivity. I mean, even adventuring with pets. I see it a lot of times, people on these planes with their pets in their bags, like they take the pet with them. when they journey. I think that's a big part of this moment. I don't have any pets, but I live in a city where there's pets everywhere and dogs and cats everywhere, and I like to be friendly to them, talk to them, try to interface with them, acknowledge them. That's all 6th house. So just to come into a little bit with the sun as the day triplicity ruler of Sagittarius, it's the only other planet that has this whole sign rulership over the sign. The sun being 7th from the moon, sun in Gemini. We might be thinking about partnership at this moment. Who are you riding with? Who are you having conversation with? The idea of intellectual intimacies, right? And how we can find ourselves through conversation. That might be part of this moment. The part of Sagittarius I always thought was appropriate, given the sun's rulership over Sagittarius, is the notion that we often adventure to find ourselves. People will say, I'm gonna just eat, pray, love, right? I'm gonna get on a plane and find out who I am. With the sun 7th from the moon, I think there may be a discursive component, an intellectual intimacy where we can touch base with other people. Sometimes other people are the best people to ask, hey, what do you think about me? Who do you think I am? Your good friends know you sometimes even better than yourself. They're gonna remind you, like you said that 2 years ago, you've tried this, man, try something else. Friends and talking to friends and asking for feedback from friends, beautiful way to deploy a sun in Gemini, ruling this moon in Sagittarius. And so finally, I just wanna point out, we still have Mars in Aries very strong in the fire sign Aries, ruling Aries. By sign, it is trining this full moon. By sign, it is sextiling the sun. And that Mars in the 5th from the full moon, I think, can bring us into some of the active stuff you've had going on. There's always a lot happening in every chart, right? A lot of different energies are present. And so even though we've been maybe more Taurian, there's probably been a lot of martial stuff too. Look and see what you've been producing or making with Mars and Aries in the last few weeks. It's still strong there until the 9th of June. So we have a lot more with Mars and Aries before Mars then enters Taurus and gets in a more lethargic or lackadaisical posture, shaking things up. You know, the sun and Mars kind of pairing off with Aries, Gemini sextile. We might be talking to people and acting with people, using the feedback we get from others to deploy in our own creative endeavors with Mars. So that's really the theme of this, the symbolism right here in the syzygy, in this full moon moment. I'm not going to say much more about it.
You set my wheels in motion. I'm going crazy for you. I smooth like the ocean.
I want to shift now into the election. I'm going to be trying to do these elections every time I do a syzygy video. I want to offer one of the charts I think is the best chart for the next little period. Kind of my job to do that. And for this next little period, I'm very much interested in the Aquarius moon, early Aquarius moon, 28 May 2024, 353 UT is the chart I have for the Iceland location that I like to use for these videos. But you can get this moon enclosed between the benefic planets, between Venus and Jupiter. The moon in Aquarius will be trining Venus and Jupiter both in Gemini. 27 May, 28 May is that benefic enclosure depending on where you are in the world. And I just think this is the best chart. It's waning, it's activating the Jupiter-Pluto trine, it's activating the Venus-Pluto trine, it's activating the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. So a heavy duty moment of the air element. Right here, 27, 28 May, you might want to do things like deep visioning, deep innovation, maybe with Pluto there in the mix, trining the benefics. It might be breakthroughs in articulation, breakthroughs in how we're understanding technically some of the problems we're focusing on, breakthroughs in articulating resistance. I've been thinking a lot about Pluto and Aquarius and how much there's been resistance in terms of groups of people coming together and saying, you know, no, we want to change the system and the structures of the system and the power structures of the system. That's all happening all over. You can just turn on the news and see it. So with this trine, I wonder how much we kind of reinvigorate maybe a verbal articulation of some of those goals or some of those beliefs that are part of the motivation for this Sagittarian, Gemini, mutable moment. I think it's an electric time. I mean, that's the air element. There's electricity, hope and vision. That's Jupiter and Venus in Gemini. And so it's kind of this electricity of hope and how we can kind of shock ourselves into a movement of anticipation for things getting better in our world. And then Pluto is the depth charge. It's like deep knowing around the improvement of reality and the collective. So use that election if you are so inclined. I don't think it's the best one by any means to start things, but it's the next moon that I really like for this phase of the lunation. So, all right, so that's the video. That's the full moon in Sagittarius video. I hope you have a wonderful full moon moment. Take care of yourself. Enjoy this goodbye that we have to all of the Taurus stuff, the cool Taurus stuff we've had going on. Yeah, so, you know, it's just good to be with you, good to be updating and describing and talking about the astrology as it unfolds in our world. You can always go to my website, sjanderson144.com, click to schedule a reading right at the top. I've got some readings open for this summer, opened up some new ones, so I look forward to reading for for you. And take care out there. I'll be releasing my June 2024 video here within the next week. So breaking down the month of June. I look forward to making that and sharing it with you to help you plan for June. So check out and look for that video. Other than that, talk real soon. Take care and peace to you. Bye-bye.